Greetings everyone, and welcome to what could possibly be the most powerful Blu-ray update in history. I recently went on a bit of a binge, wanting to pick up some 80s action movie classics, and well, you can't have an 80s action movie classic collection, really, to speak of, unless you have at least some representation of the most legendary action hero, and in fact man, who has ever lived, Chuck Norris. Oh yes, we got some Chuck for the collection, folks, and that's what we're going to check out today on the Multimedia Chronicles. When Chuck Norris enters a room, he doesn't turn the lights on. He turns the dark off. Welcome back. Well, I figured what better place to start than with the movie that put Chuck on the map for many, many people, the Octagon. Yes, here we have classic martial arts master Chuck with fellow martial arts master Lee Van Cleef, might I add, fighting ninjas. What more do you want? It's Chuck and Lee fighting ninjas. Let's take a quick look at the cover here. Now, I should mention, I haven't seen a lot of Chuck Norris movies, so that was another reason why I wanted to get some of the big notable ones into the collection. I'd only seen a handful of them when I was younger, because I just wasn't really that into action movies when I was younger. It wasn't until later. As I've said in a lot of other updates, I was all about like sci-fi and cartoons and stuff at the time, so things like this just didn't really appeal to me at that time. It wasn't until later I started to get interested in action movies and ninjas and samurai and stuff like that, so I'm very late to the party on a lot of these films, but thought it was about time we started filling in that gap. So this is actually quite a nice addition from Kino Lorber, as it also has a reversible cover. Check that out. So we get one of the other movie posters there, quite nice. And if you want to see them both side by side, let's just put them next to each other there, so quite nice. So nice close-up view for you. And I guess if you wanted to see the backs side by side, we can do that as well. There we go. So slipcover versus keep case, rear view. Really no difference other than the pictures are a little bigger on the slipcover version. So we'll just take a quick peek at the back here if you're wondering about the extras or you want to read the description. There you go.
Sporting a brand new 2K Master, martial arts superstar Chuck Norris, from A Force of One and Code of Silence, teams up with screen legend Lee Van Cleef from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and Death Rides a Horse to take on a terrorist training camp known only as the Octagon, in this deadly tale of revenge. Plagued by painful memories as a fighter, Scott James, Norris, has stayed away from the dark side of battle. But when a vengeance-seeking heiress, Karen Carlson of The Candidate, hires him to infiltrate an international terrorist operation run by his adopted brother, played by Tadashi Yamashita of American Ninja, Scott has no idea what he's coming up against. Drawn closer and closer to the Octagon, Scott realizes his brother is using his skill in the deadliest manner, training men in the ninja style of killing. Now it's up to Scott to battle his brother in the ultimate showdown of good versus evil. Directed by Eric Carson of Black Eagle and Angel Town, and co-starring Richard Norton of Force 5, Art Hindle from Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Aaron Norris from Lone Wolf McQuaid, and Ernie Hudson from Ghostbusters. The Octagon is filled with hard-hitting Norris versus ninjas action.
So yeah, we got a pretty decent selection of extras there. A couple of audio commentaries, a making of. I think that's an archival making of. Theatrical trailer, TV spots, and radio spots. And the dude in the upper left there This guy here, is it just me or does he look a lot like Owen Wilson with a bowl cut? I know it's not him, but that was the first thing I thought of. Like, what's Owen Wilson doing in this? No, wait a minute, it's 1980. It couldn't have been Owen Wilson. He would have been like, what, 12 at the time? But anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. So that's the Octagon. Now, I should mention, after the success of this, Canon Films, Golan Globus producers, wanted to have Chuck come back because they had an idea for some ninja movies, specifically what became a trilogy of ninja movies, which we will talk about in another update. But he politely declined. He didn't want to I guess he didn't want to get typecast, funny enough. Oh, Chuck. So naive in his youth. Anyway, carrying on. In an average living room, there are over 1,000 objects that Chuck Norris can use to kill you, including the room itself. So, yeah, he passed on the ninja movies and it was given over to other actors, but as I say, we'll talk about those another time. Next up, this is a big one, and I gotta wonder, like, when Chuck Norris came back to do The Expendables, he was very adamant about not using guns, which was kind of funny because, I mean, he sure used guns in the past. But I guess, you know, people grow, people change, right? So here we have the Missing in Action trilogy. Yeah, I've been wanting to check these ones out for a long time. I think I might have seen one of them when I was younger, but I remember seeing the trailers for them all the time, and I just thought, like, whoa, you know. Because, I mean, this was the days of R-rated action movies, so as, you know, a 10-year-old and up, just the thought of extreme graphic violence was, you know, a little too much for my tender sensibilities. Of course, now, like, look at my frickin' horror collection. Far more extreme stuff than anything that would have been in a typical Missing in Action movie. But quite a nice box set here. We'll just take a look at the front and the back. And there you go. I'll pull the cases out and we'll take a look at each one as well. So quite nice. We got the whole trilogy there. Get a little overview of them on the back. So if we slide them out, it's just a fairly simple, soft box. So let's take a look. So here's the first one, Missing in Action. So this was from 1984, and I think this was the one that really cemented him as an action star. I mean, the Octagon was pretty successful as well, but when he did the Missing in Action trilogy, I mean, that was it. He had achieved his legendary status, and it wasn't going to be shaken. So let's flip this around here. I'll give you guys a look at the back.
Missing in Action, sporting a brand new HD master from a 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative. American servicemen are still being held captive in Vietnam, and it's up to one man to bring them home in this blistering, fast-paced action adventure starring martial arts superstar Chuck Norris from A Force of One. Following a daring escape from a Vietnamese POW camp, Special Forces Colonel James Braddock, Norris, is on a mission to locate and save remaining MIAs. Aided by a beautiful State Department official, Lenore Kasdorf of L.A. Bounty, and a former Army buddy, M. Emmett Walsh of Blood Simple, Braddock amasses top-secret information and state-of-the-art weaponry. Now this one-man army is prepared to blast his way into Vietnam. But will he be able to blast his way back out? Directed by Joseph Zito of Invasion USA and featuring James Hong from The Perfect Weapon and David Tress from Stone Cold.
A little bit of extras on this one. We got an audio commentary by Joseph Zito, actually, quite a prolific director. Interview with screenwriter James Bruner, and the original theatrical trailer. So there you go. So that is Missing in Action. Chuck Norris does not sleep. He waits. And after that, as they often did in these types of trilogies, the second movie was actually a prequel. We have Missing in Action 2, The Beginning. quite an action-packed cover there. So then if we flip that around...
Missing in Action 2, The Beginning. Featuring a brand new HD master from a 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative. Roundhouse kick king Chuck Norris of the Octagon returns as Colonel James Braddock in this intense, action-packed prequel to the original runaway hit. Captured during a daring mid-air rescue operation, Braddock and his men are imprisoned by the insane Colonel Yin, played by Soon-Tek Oh of Good Guys Wear Black, who stops at nothing to break their spirits. Held captive in a god-forsaken jungle, death seems the only escape. But like a cunning tiger waiting for the right time to pounce on his prey, Braddock seizes the opportunity to spring into action and becomes a one-man fighting machine, dead set on freeing his men at any cost. Directed by Lance Hoole of Steel Dawn, and featuring Stephen Williams from Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday, and Professor Toru Tanaka from Catch the Heat.
So here we have an audio commentary by director Lance Hoole, moderated by historian and filmmaker Daniel Kramer, and the original theatrical trailer. So even though he most definitely uses guns in these, you can be assured of plenty of roundhouse kicks as well. Chuck Norris once kicked a horse in the chin. Its descendants are known as giraffes. Last but most certainly not least, we have Braddock, Missing in Action 3. I feel like they took a bit of a cue from Rambo there, how it started off as First Blood, but then Rambo took over as the predominant name, and well, by the time the third one, it was just Rambo 3. But yeah, so we have Braddock, Missing in Action 3. And then if we flip that around...
Braddock, Missing in Action 3. Featuring a brand new HD master from a 2K scan of the 35mm interpositive. When Colonel James Braddock, lightning-fisted legend Chuck Norris from Code of Silence, is told that his wife and 12-year-old son are still alive in communist Vietnam, he mounts a one-man assault to free them. Armed with the latest high-tech firepower, Braddock fights his way into the heart of the country and ends up battling his way out with several dozen abused children in tow, struggling to protect the kids while outmaneuvering the sadistic Vietnamese officer General Quoc, played by Aki Aliong from V, the series. Braddock ignites the jungles in a blazing race for freedom. This is the final chapter in the slam-bang Missing in Action trilogy, featuring Keith David from They Live, and directed by Chuck's stunt coordinator and brother, Aaron Norris, from Delta Force 2, The Colombian Connection.
Take a little peek at the extras there. So, yeah, so once again we have another audio commentary by action film historian Mike Leader and Arnie Vanema, and the original theatrical trailer. So that one was 1988. When was the second one? Second one was 1985. So 84, 85, 88. So there we go. So we'll just take, might as well just take one more look at them here. Just get the whole trilogy all together. Take a peek. And there you go. So there's the entire saga. And I know at least the first two are movie posters. I can't remember what the third one is. But, yeah, pretty nice. Now, it should be mentioned that after filming the first two Missing in Action movies more or less back-to-back, Golan and Globus approached Chuck and asked if he would be interested in starring in their fourth installment in their Ninja franchise. Of course, we had Enter the Ninja, Revenge of the Ninja, and Ninja 3 The Domination. Well, they were keen to do a fourth one and wanted Chuck to take the lead, but at that point he was kind of hesitant. He didn't really want to be known as a chop-socky kind of actor. You know, he didn't want to be pigeonholed or stereotyped or typecast, whatever you want to call it. So he declined. Now that series later became American Ninja, and while Chuck did appear in some promotional photos for it, he actually had nothing to do with the movies. And I guess just to be thorough, if you want to see all the backs side by side, there you go. Just in case you didn't read them all the first time, there they are. So if you were wondering, really nothing to speak of on the inside, just the plain Jane basic Kino Lorber labeling and no reversible covers. So, yeah, that's alright. It doesn't matter. Nice thing about Kino, though, is they usually do really nice transfers, or if they don't do them themselves, they acquire really nice transfers. So, looking forward to finally being able to sit down and watch this series. It has been something of an enigma since my youth. Chuck Norris does not own an oven, stove, or microwave. Because revenge is a dish best served cold. Next up, we have Invasion USA. This one I do actually remember seeing back when I was a kid. I think it was because a lot of my friends liked the Chuck Norris movies. Like, oh yeah, you gotta check out Chuck Norris. He's awesome. Like, okay, cool. So anyway, I checked out Invasion USA and really enjoyed it, actually. Kind of along the lines of, Red Dawn and that sort of thing, where it's, who's the invaders in this one? It's, is it good old Russia again? Yes, it's Russia. So Russia is invading the Florida Everglades, apparently, but I remember this being kind of small scale as far as being a supposed invasion of the entire United States. But I liked that about it. You got some great tank action in there, and I just remember it being a lot of fun. So I've been wanting to check it out again for a very long time. So when I saw that Vinegar Syndrome had this beautiful 4K edition, well, I just couldn't pass it up. I mean, check out this slipcover. It's beautiful artwork on the slipcover. But here, let's flip it around to the back. You got to see the back of this slipcover. Look at that. That is beautiful. That's awesome. I love it. So we'll take it out of the slipcover here, and you can check out the cover. This is just the basic, the original movie poster on the front there. And oh look, Chuck is using guns again. Imagine that. Let's just flip it around here. And you can check out the absolute ocean of extras on this edition. This is really nice.
Invasion USA, now available in 4K Ultra HD. Newly scanned and restored from its 35mm original camera negative and presented in HDR. Matt Hunter thought he had put his fighting days behind him when he retired from the CIA, preferring to live in the serene solitude of the Florida Everglades. But when notorious Soviet terrorist Mikhail Rostov decides to exact revenge against Matt, this one-man army has no choice but to dust off his martial arts skills and face off, Uzis in hand, against his deadliest enemy. However, as Matt tries to remain one step ahead, the insidiously evil Rostov begins deploying bands of guerrilla fighters across the state to terrorize innocent civilians and force Matt out into the open and compel him to face off for one final, bloody showdown. An action tour de force from director Joseph Zito of The Prowler and Friday the 13th, the final chapter, and one of the key films in helping establish Chuck Norris, who co-authored the screenplay with James Bruner, as an action superstar. Invasion USA was also one of the first true blockbusters from 80s genre film legends Menahem Golan and Yoram Globus's Cannon Films. Co-starring Richard Lynch from The Sword and the Sorcerer, Melissa Prophet from Goodfellas and Casino, and Billy Drago from The Untouchables. This epic feat of non-stop stunt work and incredible action set pieces comes to 4K UHD from Vinegar Syndrome, newly restored for this release from its original 35mm camera negative, and ready for retribution with a staggering supply of new and archival bonus materials.
And I gotta mention something else about this edition here is... Well, first off, we have the lovely 4K disc there. But the other thing is... Oh, and we have the Blu-ray as well, so you get both. Not all the boutique labels do that. But the other thing is this booklet that it comes with, which is... I'm not going to do close-ups of it, but it's just huge. And it doesn't just tell you about the movie. It basically gives you the history of Golan Globus Productions and how they became like the kings of action movies in the 80s. and Canon Films. So it gives you like an encapsulated history of all of that. It's just a wealth of information. Absolutely fantastic. I'll just give you a little look at it there. But yeah, I cannot recommend this edition highly enough, if only for this booklet, honestly, and just the fact that it gives you this little encapsulated history of, you know, a company that was kind of high on the action movie radar throughout the 80s. You know, you always knew when you saw the Canon Films logo, you were in for a treat. It might be something that was a little on the low budget side, but you knew you were going to have a good time. That was Golden Globus, and, well, Chuck Norris was very much a part of that empire.
Hey kids, here's a fun fact. Did you know that Matt Hunter was also the name of the human friend and ally of the GoBots in Challenge of the GoBots? And a peripherally related fun fact, Matt Hunter in the GoBots cartoon was voiced by Morgan Paul, who played Dave Holden, the ill-fated Blade Runner from the 1982 Ridley Scott film. Blade Runner. I'm talking about Blade Runner. You know Blade Runner? Yeah. The guy who voiced Matt Hunter in GoBots was the guy who played Dave Holden in Blade Runner. And Matt Hunter was also the name of Chuck Norris's character in Invasion USA. The reason this is significant is because Invasion USA came out the year after, actually 2 years after the GoBots premiered. So clearly, what that means is Chuck Norris is a massive GoBots fan.
All right, so next up, if paper beats rock, rock beats scissors, and scissors beats paper, what beats all three at the same time? Chuck Norris. All right, so next up we have, oh look, more guns. Delta Force with Lee Marvin, another legend of action movies of the past, in the twilight of his career here, but teaming up with the new kid on the block, this Chuck Norris kid. So this is another one that actually got a full-blown 4K edition, this time from Shout Factory, actually. So quite nice. We'll just flip that around to the back.
The Delta Force, presented for the first time in 4K Ultra HD. In a new scan from the original camera negative, presented in Dolby Vision. When a U.S. passenger plane is seized by vicious hijackers and taken to Beirut, the president calls in the Delta Force, a crack team of commandos led by Colonel Nick Alexander, played by Lee Marvin of the Dirty Dozen, and Major Scott McCoy, Chuck Norris from Invasion USA. Against all odds, the men blast into the compound and, taking no prisoners, rescue the hostages. But the mission isn't over yet. A few remaining passengers are being escorted to Tehran, indicating a desperate race against time as Alexander and McCoy attempt to save them and avenge America's honor before it's too late.
Yeah, I don't see anything. Oh, we have a theatrical trailer. Great. Why do they list everything under special features? Special features is the film was transferred to digital. Great. That's so special. Anyway, kind of grasping at straws to just have some special features listed there. Is it in color? Does it have interactive menus? Does it have multiple language options? Actually, I don't know if it does have multiple language options. Nope, just a whole lot of English. Anyway, there you go. So you got Blu-ray, 4K, one has Chuck on it, one has Lee on it. So there you go, very cool. When Chuck Norris does push-ups, he pushes the earth down. Then finally, last but not least, we have Delta Force 2! Yeah, there was actually a sequel. This one was put out on Blu-ray by good old Kino Lorber again. Kino Lorber just seems to be almost your one-stop shop for all things Chuck. So let's take a quick peek at this one. No slipcover, alas, but that's okay. it seemed like a fairly straightforward edition. I think this one I actually had to get used because it's I think it's actually out of print now. Pretty basic ass cover, honestly. The kind of typical sort of cover you'd see on like a direct-to-video action movie from the 90s. And I think this was from, yep, 1990. So take a look at the back there.
Delta Force 2. Chuck Norris from An Eye for an Eye is in peak form in this explosive action-adventure that brings back one of his most unforgettable characters, Delta Force Colonel Scott McCoy, for a daring mission to destroy a deadly South American drug cartel. When notorious drug lord Ramon Cota, Billy Drago of The Hero and the Terror, captures a team of American narcotics agents, as well as a member of McCoy's elite Delta Force commando unit, and imprisons them in his remote San Carlos compound, the Delta Force charges into action, waging war against Cota's powerful cocaine empire. Against all odds, McCoy and his squad must fight their way to a blistering final battle to free the hostages and destroy the ruthless criminal mastermind in this lightning-paced and outrageously exciting turbocharged adventure. Chuck's brother Aaron Norris, a platoon leader, directed this sequel to the smash hit, featuring strong performances by John P. Ryan of Avenging Force, Richard Jackal of Grizzly, and Mark Margolis from The Rosary Murders.
Yeah, it looks like we went from like super deluxe to just absolute bottom of the barrel, bare bones. But hey, that's okay. It's nice to at least have both Delta Force movies in high def. I think I've seen the first one before, but honestly, so long ago, it might as well be new to me. Let's just check out the whole Delta Force duology here, side by side. Very nice. Alright. So, finally, I guess I'm going to go pee. Hold on, I really have... Some people can pee their name in the snow. Chuck Norris pees his name into concrete. So just before we go, I guess we'll put them all together here. So we got Octagon, Missing in Action Trilogy, Invasion USA, Delta Force 1 and 2. There we go. So not a bad start to the Chuck Norris collection. Got a lot of his early big action hits represented there. There are still a few of his earlier films I need to pick up, such as Lone Wolf McQuade, Code of Silence, Force of One, and of course, the one that basically shot him to superstardom, Good Guys Wear Black. But hey, there's nothing saying we can't do a part 2 sometime, right? I mean, there's a lot of other Chuck Norris stuff out there. Walker, Texas Ranger, another big one. But for now, this covers most of the ones that were on my radar when I was younger, and the ones that I've always wanted to either watch or re-watch. Alrighty, well that is it from me to you for now, but just before we go, one last fact about Chuck Norris. There is no chin beneath Chuck Norris's beard. Only another fist.
That's ridiculous. Chuck Norris?
Yeah, you thought I was going to forget that one, didn't you? No. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. I will see you next time. Until then, thanks for watching, and sayonara. Alrighty. That is that. Not a bad update. Now, I just need to make room for all of these on the shelf. But I don't think that'll be a problem, because nothing gets in the way of Chuck Norris. Damn it.